Yes, thank you very much, and welcome to my presentation. As you have already heard, we will speak now about depiction of passwords and password behavior in movies. And I would like to start with a short example, a scene from Spider-Man, Far From Home, so you can understand what we will discuss later.
What's your password?
So, why should one concern with movies or film clips in total? We have a large amount of related work showing that what we see in the movies influences the learning and influences knowledge of different topics. We know this from medicine, from psychology, from sociology. What we see can lead to misconceptions. We also have some examples in the area of IT security showing that people learn about cybersecurity topics from media, including television and films. People see those stories, see how people handle security, how they experience cyber crime, how they handle passwords. What they see, they often cannot decide if this is realistic or not, but it influences the attitude toward technology and may influence the mental models. So this makes movie a topic of high interest for security researchers and leads to the question, what is actually shown in the movies? What could people learn if they watch a specific movie? We wanted to analyze this and pick one specific topic, namely passwords. This is still the most common form of online authentication, so normal users have to deal with passwords, and for that they should have at least some knowledge about secure passwords and secure password behavior. So the question we ask is, what is actually shown about passwords in the movies? How are they depicted? The idea was to have a look at as many movies as possible, different years, different genres, different kinds of movies. For that, we could, of course, not watch all of them, but we made a text analysis based on subtitles to have a look of what movies can we find. The first step for that was to create a movie subtitle database. We used a torrent that was uploaded to Reddit, crawled in July 2022 from a large data set from opensubtitles.org. This is a community-driven site where people can upload and download subtitles. We did some data cleaning, we removed duplicates, removed all non-English subtitles. We took only movies, no TV series, no shows, no YouTube links. And then we had, in the end, a database with 97,709 unique English movies. And we added some metadata from the TMDB, the movie database. And then we had a large data set we could search for different data. The next step was to find password-related content. For that, we searched basically for the word password and took the movies. And then we made some sort of a scene, so we took plus minus 10 lines of subtitles to get some context we could analyze later. So what did we find out? We found out that password appeared 5,982 times in 2,851 different movies, so slightly under 3% of all the movies in our database. It's very different in the different years. So in the early movies, we do not have that much password appearance. It's more in newer years. So in the movies released since 2020, we have in more than 5% that password appeared at least once. It's more frequent in different genres, so we have it very often in thriller, in science fiction, action and adventure. We do not have that much in music, Western, and documentaries. So this is about basic movie data. Now let's have a look at the actual content. So we read the scenes and try to find out what do people do with the movies, with the passwords in the movies. So one question we ask is, what do people actually do with the passwords in the movies? And we see that basically they do everything you can do in the real world. So we see a large amount of people creating passwords, people forgetting passwords, people trying to remember forgotten passwords. We see a large amount of password sharing with one person, sharing with a group of people, sharing with the public by just writing it on a paper and putting it on the table. Regarding the questions what passwords are used for, we see, again, a large amount of different tools and advices. So we see computers, computer files, we see internet-related stuff having different accounts, we see banking, we see logs, and we see legitimation purposes. What we see only very rarely, and this is very sad, are security best practices. So password managers appear only in one movie, and this is a documentary. Multi-factor authentication appears in 7 times, so also not that often, and it's always a one-time key sent to any sort of device, additional to a normal password. So all in all, we can say that the behavior is quite realistic, but unfortunately, security best practices are missing, and this is some sort of a missed opportunity to help familiarize with those tools. One thing we were particularly interested in were password attacks, so we wanted to know what do people do attacking. We see basically two approaches. We see password guessing, where a human actively guesses candidate passwords, for example, based on trying typical things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or by using knowledge about a person. We have the example on the left. The name of the boyfriend is Troy. She calls him Badge Boy. Her birthday is July 6th. Let's try this. The other approach we see is hacking, which are all the other techniques people can use. So we have, for example, using keyloggers, using shoulder surfing, using phishing, and other stuff. Sometimes we see some sort of techno bubble, so strange technical writing. Here we have the second example. After a reverse hash, I backdoor the root password, and so on. So in the diagram below, you can see the attack outcome. Is it successful or not? The guessing is quite successful with a 47% success rate, 39% fail. Sometimes we do not know if an attack is successful or not by reading the scene, and this is the uncertain button. The best success rate for the guessing attacks are attacks based on knowing an old password. So I know this person 5 years ago, she had 1, 2, 3 as a password, maybe this still works. This is successful in 92%. Then we have password hacking, which is even more successful than guessing. It has an 81% success rate and 14% failure. Most successful here are all the attacks based on human factors, so phishing, social engineering, and so on. To speak about the realism here, we have some sort of a mixed bag. So how the attack is actually performed is often quite realistic, not always, but sometimes. So for guessing, we see that people actually try birthdays, try pet names, try typical passwords, which can often work in reality. And also here we see that people are often from family or friends that are guessing your passwords, which is quite correctly shows that there are not always criminal masterminds and hackers, but also people you know that attack you. Also for hacking, we see some stuff which is quite realistic, using shoulder surfing, using phishing, using keyloggers and stuff that can also work in reality. The not really successful is the success rate, which is very high and confirms literature saying that attacks are often too powerful in the movies. Another thing we did was analyzing the actual passwords in the movies. So we collected all the passwords appearing. Sometimes we could just get them out of the subtitles. Sometimes they were described verbally, and then we had to approximate what exactly should be the plaintext password. For zeros are for zeros. This is quite easy. Sometimes it was a bit more complex because we actually had some quite good passwords in the movies. So the passwords we collected, we then divided into different strengths categories. So we used the tool Seek CVBN, having class 0 for very weak passwords. They are very easy to guess. Class 4 are quite good. They are quite hard to guess. The diagram here shows the distribution among the different classes in a comparison with the Liz RockQ, which is a large data breach several years ago, and Ignis 1M, which is a collection of different data breaches. And you can see that our movies in the passwords contain both more weak and more strong ones than many other data sets. We tried to combine the password strengths with different findings we had in the paper. I can show you only one due to time reasons. And this is, how is it with the password guessing? Can you guess a strong password better or weaker than a normal one? And you can see here in this diagram that success and failure is always around 50%. So if you have a very weak class 0 password in a movie or a very strong class 4 password in a movie, it's always around 50% that the attacks will be successful or not. This is only different in class 3, where we have even more successful attacks. So if you have a quite strong class 3 password, there are even more attacks successful in the movies. So all in all, we can say about password strengths that password strength has practically no effect on security. Strong passwords are guessed just as often as weak ones, or even more often in the movie. So this is a bit dangerous. This might send out the message, hey, security efforts are completely regardless, so you shouldn't even try to use them. It doesn't work. So let's have a short look at a short conclusion. What we see in the movie here in this analysis is that we have an increase of password appearance in the movies, so we should discuss the topic in public. Our findings suggest that we have both very strong and very weak passwords in the movies, so we have some negative things. We have a large amount of password reuse, password sharing. We have the problem that we have this very high success rate in the attacks, and that the strength of a password has practically no effect on security. On the other hand, we see some positive things. So we see actually some strong passwords. When there are weak passwords, we often get the information, hey, this password is weak. This is especially, as in the beginning, that people make fun of bad passwords and say, this is not a good password, but I still use it. Our findings show that in total, the movies portray passwords in a way that could lead viewers to riskier behavior, and this is very dangerous. So to change this, we would have to bring together security experts and filmmakers. This is not a new idea. This is an idea very old in medicine, where we already have experts making sure that movies portray accurate medical information. And also in the area of IT security, this is not a new idea. At least we know it since Kelsey Fulton wrote in her paper that we need a cybersecurity and entertainment task force, and says filmmakers should hire technological experts. So we would like to emphasize this need and want to make sure that movies portray cybersecurity topics more broadly, technology more broadly, or movies and passwords in special, so in a way that does not lead to harmful negative outcomes for the viewers. So that's the end of my presentation. Please note the picture and scene credits, and thank you very much for listening.